Hello, everybody, and welcome to Virtual TrekCon 4 with Cirroc Lofton, of course.
Hello, hello.
Joining us right now are Chase Masterson, Max Grodenchik, Armin Shimerman, and of course, Malissa Longo. My name is Ryan T. Husk. This is the Ferengi family, and we are so excited, happy, and honored, and very grateful to have you. How you doing?
Great. It's nice to be with friends.
So great to be with you guys.
So first and foremost, everybody, Max is calling in from Austria. And Max, can you very quickly just give us an update on how things are in Austria? What's life like?
I think it's the same as here, except you got to pay in euros. That's all. It's pretty much the same. It's yeah.
Sounds exotic.
Yeah.
Spoken like a true Ferengi. They break it down to the money.
Not much.
And you'd have to pay in Latinum. So
Right.
People are nice and friendly, and maybe they make fun of you with my accent, but no, it is a very nice place to live. Actually, Armin, you've been to our place.
I have. It is a
You
very
have,
nice
you
place.
have
It's a
years ago.
charming town in Austria, surrounded by, not immediately surrounded, but very close to the Alps, and so the vistas are incredible. Max and Karina took me to a wonderful lake, took Kitty and I to a lake which we walked around, and we saw the Alps right there in front of us, and it's a beautiful place to live. I envy Lena's childhood because she gets to get brought up there.
Yeah, yeah. She's doing well. She's doing very well. Knock on wood. Yeah. Thank you.
I can imagine a DS9 fan walking around in Austria and running into the two of you like, what the hell is going on? How are you guys here?
We know an Austrian guy. What's his name? What's our Austrian buddy, Malissa?
Oh, Robert Kaiser?
Robert Kaiser, exactly. Yeah. That's
Robert.
the guy. That's the guy. Shout out to Robert Kaiser, who stays up super late and somehow watches all of our stuff, even though it's like 3 a.m. over there.
Robert,
He's great.
If Robert's watching, are you the guy I run into at conventions? Every convention I run into.
Possibly.
I don't know if
He's everywhere. He's one of the lovely regulars. Yeah. We do know you guys and miss you.
And everybody, Robert Kaiser is here right now. Please welcome.
No. There's I know a Robert from where are we? From where we live? From about Steiermark. I know a Robert from there, and we cross paths at conventions. Yeah, he doesn't live that far away. Half hour away from. If it's him, I'm gonna find out if it's him.
Probably. So Chase, what's new with you? It seems like every time we talk with you, you have some new philanthropy or some amazing, wonderful thing that you're doing to improve the lives of people and children and the community. What's going on with you? What's the heroic journey?
Thank you so much for asking, Ryan. The Heroic Journey is the program that is the flagship project of the nonprofit that I founded in 2013. The nonprofit is called Pop Culture Hero Coalition, and so many of you out there have been so incredibly supportive, and I appreciate that so much. Ryan and Cirroc and Malissa, you guys have been wonderfully supportive, and Armin and Max, everybody. But to have us on the Seventh Rule and talk about it as many times as you have has been so great. And it's really formed, the Trek community has formed a foundation for us to take our work bigger and more powerfully out to a larger group of people whose lives we can impact. So the program began as an initiative to end bullying in all its forms: bullying, racism, misogyny, LGBTQIA+ bullying, cyberbullying, and other forms of injustice. And that's really based on Roddenberry's IDIC. I mean, the Trek community has taught me so powerfully how true and how celebratory we can be to that concept. And seeing you guys everyone out there being so wonderfully inclusive and individual and celebrating everyone's identity really made that the goal for us. But I realized that ability to cherish people who are quote unquote different is based in mental health. So our initiative, The Heroic Journey, is a mental health program teaching kids healthy identity and that they can cherish who they are and cherish who everyone else is. And it's in 33 lessons. And I'm proud to say we are the program for children and parents' mental health at YMCAs nationwide. If you walk into any YMCA in the country, if they have a program for, we call it social emotional learning, it's ours.
Wow. That's
Wow.
incredible.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Congratulations. That is
Thank you.
spectacular. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, you guys have laid the foundation for that, and I could not have done it without friends and family in the Trek community. And who better to launch Roddenberry's IDIC to a wider and more powerful group, and maybe we can have a world where we can all live long and prosper.
Beautifully said.
It's interesting because mental health, as we were watching the show, was one of the things that science hadn't conquered yet in the 24th century or in the world of Star Trek. So they were able to, repair any kind of skin damage or broken bones or whatnot. But when it came to mental health, it was still a sensitive subject, and still there was no solution for it, for people suffering. And I think that, attacking it, addressing it, trying to find a solution is a noble thing.
It really, thank you. I'm excited and proud and honored. And it's nice to be doing that. I will say, for the most part, for the past 10 years, I've been a volunteer CEO and still doing film projects and other work so that I can keep all of our money as a coalition going to the work. So that's partly why we've been able to do such powerful work on such a widespread basis. And I'm grateful that it's all been able to work together. Yeah.
And Chase, can I ask a question about your organization? Because we hear so much about mental illness coming from young people related to gun violence, does your organization deal with that at all?
What we do, our primary program is for kids ages, kids grades 2 through 5. So we're really laying a foundation for healthy identity and for an ability to deal with to have mindfulness and to realize that our thoughts lead to our feelings, lead to our behaviors, and to have self-compassion. And then after the foundations of those, we teach things like empathy and nonviolent conflict resolution. And basically we seek into social justice from that point. So we don't teach ending gun violence per se, but we do teach nonviolent approaches and how to have nonviolent approaches and how to keep our minds from going to those places of uncontrollable anger or rage, but by understanding our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. So it's pre that for this age group.
Well, that's important. If you get people young enough and instill right thinking into them, and that's a terrible thing to say, but then maybe we can prevent some of the horrendous actions that we see on the news constantly.
Yes, it has to happen way before somebody has a gun in their hand or wants to.
Right.
Way
Thinking
before that.
to emotion to behavior. That's really great. That's that's perfect.
It's basic CBT.
That's easier to remember.
Okay. All right.
It's that, but it's wrapped up.
I thought you said CPT. That's something different. That's color people time. I've been on that for a while.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, Chase, in this program, is it something that a child would seek out, or is it something that counselors look for in behavior? How does the outreach happen?
So it's on 2 levels. That's a great question, Cirroc. Thank you. First, it's after school programs. And these happen, this is almost a mandatory thing. Basically, this is what you do if you go to YMCA after school. And we're getting into schools on an after school basis. So that is, but it's all wrapped up in fun. It's all wrapped in stories of heroism and stories of being a hero for yourself and for other people. So we use heroic narratives from Star Trek, Star Wars, Harry Potter, the Avengers, Wonder Woman, Black Panther. We use these narratives to teach kids, well, you may not want to talk about your own depression and being bullied or even abused, but we can talk about what happened with T'Challa, being afraid of not understanding the depth and power of who he was, and the pushes and pulls between nonviolent conflict resolution and peaceful solutions. And so I didn't make the exact parallel there, but we can talk about those things in those contexts. So not to go on about it, but that is what we do after school. Then we have trainings for teachers who might see someone who has been abused at home or other issues that are really deep and important that they wouldn't otherwise know how to approach, and we teach them how to approach that. Mm-hmm. And I'm just the overall person. I function as the founder and CEO, but we hire psychologists to do the actual work. And we have a team of absolutely amazing psychologists that I've handpicked. I think we got all the best ones. And they're on our website if anybody wants to see. I don't want to go on about it, but they're on our website. It's popculturehero.org.
Fantastic. And we're going to include that link in the description box below, everybody, so you don't have to memorize these links. Just when this is over, go down in the description box of this video, and you can click on that and check it out. Also, Armin, we're going to include a link for you, but can you tell everybody about an event that will be happening at this time?
Sure. What Ryan is referring to is the last 3 years, myself, my wife, Kitty Swink, and our good friend, Jonathan Frakes, have been heading up a campaign of fundraising for an organization called the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, abbreviated PanCAN. And what that organization does is try to fund research into cures and therapies for pancreatic cancer, which is a killer disease. It's not only looking for cures, but it's looking for ways to educate doctors to recognize symptoms quicker than they normally do. It also provides help for people who are recently diagnosed with this horrible disease. And when people get this diagnosis, they think of it as a death sentence. And unfortunately, for many, it is. I'm happy to say when Kitty was diagnosed 18 years ago, and she is a survivor of 18 years, the survival rate was 3%. It's still low, but it's tripled or quadrupled. It is now 11%, which is still low, but more sizable than 3%. And the reason why it's grown is because therapies have been found, and because doctors are now looking for these symptoms ahead of time. Now, in order to fundraise, we do a number of things, but primarily we raise money for a national event called Purple Stride, which PanCAN puts on, and that is a march similar to many charitable marches, and in cities around the country. People will meet on April the 29th in parks, in cities, in rural areas, and march for Purple Stride, which is for PanCAN, in order to raise money to help support these efforts to educate doctors and to help people with who need counselors when they're diagnosed, and to do what's needed to make this disease eventually go away. For Kitty, who was diagnosed, you can understand our attachment to why we want to do this. Jonathan Frakes lost his brother to pancreatic cancer. John Billingsley just joined us. He lost his mother to pancreatic cancer. There are many people who have passed away from this horrible disease. Usually, unfortunately, when you get the diagnosis, you only have 3, 4, 5 months to live. but there are ways to deal with that. You don't always pass away. Kitty's an example of that. And as I said, the survival rate has gotten better. So we want to help. We want to help with pancreatic cancer, and it's understandable that if we help with one cancer, we help with all cancers. If we can find a way to do away with one particular cancer, usually that research can be used for other cancers as well. So that's what we're doing.
So everybody check that out. We'll include that link below. Sorry, Cirroc.
Yeah, Armin, I wanted to ask you, what was the sign for you that Kitty was, that made Kitty go in to get checked for this? Like, what were the signs?
There were no signs. There were no signs. She just lucked out. She was, well, I guess there was one sign. She was having acid reflux. Well, she thought it was acid reflux. She thought it was from tensions that were arising from personal problems she was having with a father who was into Alzheimer's, and she was a caregiver. So she went in. I finally convinced her to go in to look at this, what she thought was acid reflux. And the doctor, magically, there's no other word for it, decided to do one particular test on her white blood cell count, which the doctor didn't have to do with the symptoms that Kitty was manifesting. And when the doctor did the white blood cell count, he saw that the count was extraordinarily high, and he sent her to one of our chief hospitals here in Los Angeles, Cedars-Sinai, and they did some exploration, and within a matter of at the most 48 hours between the doctor's appointment, she was told that she had pancreatic cancer, and it was horrible. She'd already lost a lot of weight and had acid reflux. And while we sat in the hospital waiting to meet the doctors before the diagnosis, she literally turned to that same yellow that's sitting behind Malissa, VirtualCon 4, and obviously something was wrong. But luckily, the doctor had found it, had done the white blood cell count, and that prompted that. She was fortunate because she was very physically fit. She was fortunate to have what I consider to be the best way to get rid of this disease, or at least to attack it, is to have an operation called a Whipple. And she had a Whipple operation almost immediately. And that Western medicine, in conjunction with Eastern medicine that she also took up, pretty much saved her life.
Wow.
Is that a hereditary thing?
It can be, yes. Thank you for asking that, Cirroc. Anyone who has a family member that had pancreatic cancer most assuredly must go to their doctors and check on whether or not they're susceptible to that disease as well. It is very much a hereditary thing.
They're high risk.
Kitty's family did not have pancreatic cancer that we know of, but they did have cancer. And this, by the way, was the second cancer that Kitty survived.
Wow. She's a fighter.
Incredible.
Wow.
She's a fighter. Yeah. You know, as I used to tell my grandmother, God only takes the good ones. Okay.
Well, wow. Not only.
Well, that must mean she's just spectacular.
Yeah, that's true.
She's a step above good.
Yeah, you know, also very quickly, I actually had a friend that I lost to pancreatic cancer, and he did have that jaundice that you mentioned. Like, it was like an immediate thing. And so when you mentioned the yellow behind Malissa, I remembered that, and that's kind of a telltale sign as well.
It is. Once you know, everybody looking at you knows there's something wrong because you just turned yellow. But at that point, usually it's too late. Things have gotten better, but without the Whipple, chemotherapy, the other therapies that have recently been discovered since Kitty's diagnosis, all those go towards curing that if they can cure it. And with the Whipple, which is a very extensive operation, it took 9 hours. They can go in, they get to your pancreas, which is very difficult to get to. And if the if the cancer is in the front of the pancreas, there's a possibility of survival. If it's in the middle or the tail of the pancreas, they close you up and do their best for you after that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, it's wonderful to hear how tightly knit the Star Trek community is with Jonathan Frakes and with you, Armin, and Kitty, and everybody around. It's really great to see, and all the good stuff that you do. And I actually wanted to talk a bit more about that, because I remember when I would go to Star Trek conventions, our good friend Max here would go up on stage with Aaron Eisenberg, and you guys would just destroy the audience with laughter, and with Aaron turning a 5-minute skit into a 30-minute skit with all of his improvisation. Max, can you tell us where this idea came from? Was it Lolita that gave it to you? Did you just love your Ferengi family so much that you just wanted more time on stage? What was it?
I think we got a good offer to do it. So like true Ferengis.
Like a true Ferengi.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of you. I'm very proud of you.
What's that, brother? What's that?
I said I'm very proud of you.
Yeah,
very proud of you.
I think plus there was the joy of working with Aaron, and I can't tell him that right now. So
sure you can, and you just did.
Aaron, it was such a joy to work with you, and and I'm sorry we can't do that anymore. So yeah. We'd write these little sketches. We went from city to city: Seattle, San Francisco, and Chicago, and Boston. And we'd adjust the material to fit each city as best we could, and we'd come out on stage, and we had our costumes. I can't remember his name. There's a collector in somewhere in Arizona.
Oh yeah.
Who collects costumes, and he was happy to loan us a Nog costume and a Rom costume, and I think we were always in makeup too, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
You were. The ones I saw.
Oh, you were.
And Aaron would always try to mess me up on stage, and he did a pretty
successfully.
Good job with it. And,
that was his thing. Gotcha.
It started out rough on me, but then I remember he said I'm going to go mess Nana up on stage now, and he did. He did. So that made me feel a little better, and I was just shocked that he was gone.
Yeah.
And we would still be doing that show. I think we would still be doing it.
Well, Max, you mentioned to me a couple of weeks ago that you had found a script from the Ferengi family, for that you did on stage with Aaron. But I also found if kids see it, well, no, it's disappearing.
There it is, the Ferengi Family Hour.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah.
Wow.
Here's a question: how many pages is that?
Wow.
Because I want to know how Aaron was able to turn that into an hour.
It's pretty thick. There's at least 20 to 30 pages here.
Oh, that's excellent.
But yeah, and I'm wondering if did the jokes change, or like the Borg Eisenberg joke, was that
that was a great joke, the Eisenberg joke. If Aaron Eisenberg married the Borg queen, he'd be Aaron Eisenberg.
Yeah.
Okay. They got bigger laughs back in the day. Yeah. Anyway, that's what we did. Yeah. So, thank you. That's
the
a nice
Ferengi
memory.
Family Hour. It's a rom-com.
It is a rom-com.
Exactly.
It was
and
like
Lita and Quark were there sometimes too.
For me, I believe it was only once, and I couldn't get off stage quick enough. I was there once, not in costume, thankfully, or makeup. I don't know how you guys did that, but they invited me on. Usually they had a cardboard cutout of me that they worked with, and I believe that cardboard cutout was probably more talented than me anyway, so they were better off with the cardboard cutout.
We brought that Quark around the world.
Yeah.
Where am I now? Where is he now?
Where's the Quark? Oh my God, they lost the Quark.
I think he's somewhere. Armin, did you get on stage with us? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I can't remember which city it was, but yes.
It had to be somewhere in England, probably Birmingham, because
it was Birmingham. You're absolutely right.
Because they were advertising us being the Ferengi family on stage for the last time or for the first time.
Yeah, it was Birmingham, because I take it back. I was in makeup and costume.
Yeah,
I was.
Yep.
Oh wow!
And Lita was there too. Yeah.
Lita and Mookie were a part of the show every time, and we oh my God, we had so much fun. And Max rewrote the opening number and a lot of the jokes depending on which city we were in. So we'd have like jokes about Birmingham, Chicago, Seattle, Miami. The Ferengi family went to Disneyland in Florida.
What?
It was hilarious, and it had.
I got to see those pictures. The Ferengi with Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, comparing ears.
Who's got a bigger head?
Yeah.
Ours were larger. I can assure you, ours were larger.
It is somewhere. Yeah, it is somewhere.
We said it was like Donnie and Marie, but for Ferengi, because it was a musical. And so we were always, it was.
That was a musical.
Yes. Max wrote parody songs.
Yeah.
That's where Max started.
I don't know. Oh, that's where we started the parodies.
Yes.
The parodies. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. Could have been.
Hilarious.
Yeah. Thank you.
People will literally
I remember seeing, it was in Vegas. I think it was in Vegas. Malissa, you were there. Well, I was backstage and Aaron was putting on his uniform, and he was complaining to me that he was too fat. He's like, I got to cut Starbucks off. I'm too much Starbucks. Wasn't he saying that?
Yes, and then he would say, "Okay, no more whipped cream on on my pumpkin spice latte," because he loved the pumpkin spice. He's like, "Oh, Noggs had too many donuts."
But he looked good because I was like, I couldn't fit in my uniform. He still fitted it though. So I gave him credit. I was like, you still fitted it. So.
Because you're 2 feet taller, Cirroc.
Yeah. Well, that too. There's just no way it's gonna happen. But
your uniform back then is a sock for you right now.
Yeah. Right.
Wow.
But no. I remember him complaining about that. And just be like, man, I gotta drop some weight, man, because I want to be able to fit in this and feel good about it.
Yeah, he complained about being a chunky monkey in his uniform.
Yeah.
So Armin, I wanted to ask you, because this is kind of why we wanted to get all of you together. It's just this wonderful little community. You really do feel like a family. We know you were the family kind of grew as Deep Space Nine went on. And I wonder, Armin, did you get a feeling of when that tide was changing? That there was something, like whether it was in the second season or the fifth, where you just kind of started to feel like Quark's family and story was starting to grow, and then there was Lita, and there was, Rom was always there, but he became more of a focus, and Nog became more of a focus, and Zek and Ishka. Was there like a change in the air where you kind of started noticing, seems like they're giving us a little bit more and it's growing?
I think so. I can't pinpoint exactly where. As you say, Ram and Nog were always there. Although Ram wasn't called Ram in the first episode, but I think by the second episode he did have a name.
Yeah, he was called Ferengi Pit Boss, I think.
Pit Boss.
Yeah, and Nog was always Nog. But I've always thought, and I have nothing to base it on, that they had this series regular who was a Ferengi, and he was a lawbreaker, and they sort of realized, I think, and this is just me talking out of the top of my hat, that they sort of realized that they had to remove my character, from what was going on primarily on the station in the beginning, because if I was constantly doing nefarious deeds and they weren't catching me, it was going to make them look bad. It was going to make Cisco and Odo and Kira all look bad, that they couldn't catch this.
Or they're condoning it. It's the one or the other.
Or they're condoning it, exactly, Cirroc. So I think they began to look for ways to go in a different direction with my character. They could have, of course, fired me, which I'm happy they didn't do. But I think they found themselves in a conundrum. And so, but they must have already assumed that, because both Nog and Ram were there at the very beginning, in the very first episode. So they began to build that up. I think, it's a guess, I think the family really became more important, and the stories became focused on that for us somewhere in the third season, especially after the House of Quark. I believe that's when they began to shift that in a certain way. And there was a slight period of time I thought that Aaron would be part of the family as well. When he was interested in interviewing Quark in the bar, I thought that was perhaps that he was going to become part of that family as well.
Cirroc.
Jake.
Yeah.
Jake. Yeah. And of course, we also have to add, Brunt to that as well. And to some extent, and certainly, the two Ishkas, Moogies, and Wally, and everybody else that was part of that. And as far as the family feeling is, I will take a little bit of credit for that. I think Ryan and Cirroc, you've heard me mention this before, but I early on began to invite the Ferengi and everyone that I was pretty much interacting with to my house on the weekend to rehearse.
Even Brunt? Especially Brunt.
Even the Grand Nagus came to my house at times to rehearse. Even Odo at times came to my house to rehearse. So that I think that may have helped build the family feeling, because we weren't just meeting on the set and performing. We were actually having coffee and perhaps donuts for Aaron at our house, so that we would have an affinity for a lot of us here and other members of the Deep Space Nine family. We all have theatrical backgrounds, and you don't get much rehearsal in television, and you do in the theater. So I wanted to bridge that gap, and all these people are to be commended because they gave up their weekends, part of their weekends, in order to do better work on Deep Space Nine. And those of us who had to wear the makeup, Max and I and Aaron and the others, we knew that after hour 9 or so, we were dead tired, and yet we still had another 3 hours to go. So we needed to be able to work on fumes in those last 3 hours, and the only way to do that is to have a sense of rehearsal that we could rely on in order to make it through those last couple of hours.
And then
I
still
know that,
to go in on the
yeah.
weekends and have more hours is commendable. But what were you saying, Malissa? Sorry.
I was going to say, I know that Aaron had mentioned to me several times how important those rehearsals were for him. Not only for the character of Nog and helping him grow his, find his Nog voice, but also solidifying the family unit that's here now. So he definitely appreciated those rehearsals greatly and thought of them fondly very often. And there was one time we were driving in your neck of the woods, and he said, Armin and Kitty live down there, and we used to have rehearsals down there. Yeah.
It was very beneficial, and I thank all of you for the time you gave up to do that. It made my work better, and I hope all of our work together made all of our work better. It was. I've never heard of people doing that on other shows. Perhaps they do, but it was very helpful for us.
Maybe table reads and stuff like that, but
not on their own time.
Any actor would give a limb to do that, though, right? I mean, anybody who really cares about their work and to be on this show, any actor would give anything. So, of course, we wanted to take as good care of it as we possibly could.
It made us all better. It made us all better.
Yeah.
Well, Chase, can I just...
sorry.
I just wanted to add... Yeah, please, go ahead.
Well, I want to say thank you for that, Armin, because as a recurring actor, it can be really daunting to go into a room or a set particularly, where people are already in sync and have been for years, and they already have friendships, relationships, history, and they're rolling. And for you to appear as the new kid on the block can be really difficult. And you made it welcome and warm for us and helped us know that we belonged. And that was so important. And it was important on two levels. First, everyone delivers better work when we're feeling like we belong, when we know we're invited to the party. And also just as a person, it just helped so much knowing that we had someone who had our backs, that wanted us to do our best work and was there to support. And I remember you took us aside sometimes and said, see, this is how they're setting up the shot. And, for a close-up, you want to keep this in mind. And I was a pretty new actor at that point, and for camera. And, it meant so much to know that you were there for us, Armin.
Thank you. Having been a recurring character myself, and because camera work was relatively new to me, I spent most of my younger career on stage. I knew that I had been not mistreated, but neglected when I had been a recurring character or a guest star on other shows. And I knew that I had responsibility as number 7 on the call sheet, not number 1, but number 7 on the to make sure that that everyone felt comfortable. In my first recurring role on Beauty and the Beast, I worked with Ron Perlman, and Perlman gave me the advice.
Nice.
He said, when you're number 1 on the call sheet, it's your party, and you're the host, and you must make everyone feel at home and feel comfortable.
And
Armin, you did that, and it's something I learned from you as well. So among many things I've learned from you, that was one of them.
Thank you, Max. And I learned it from Ron, and you'll pass it on to whomever. All of us will pass it on to somebody else, I hope, because Chase is right. It not only makes for a more comfortable day, it makes for better work. And isn't that what we're there for? We're there to give the very best possible work that we can provide, so that people will tune in and tune in again.
Yeah,
and a more comfortable life. Yeah. I mean, we're there talking about the importance, the beauty, the glory of being human, the joy of being human, and why not have everyone have that off screen as well.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't happen all the time in this business, though.
And it's what you're doing with the heroic journey work as well. You want people to understand, empathize with other people. Too often, unfortunately, in our business, egos get in the way, and you have to deal with egos that are not really conducive to a friendship or even communication. And I hate that, really hate that. I'm sure you all do too as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I swore to myself, if I can make it better, I will do that. If I have to go out of way, if I have to, if I have to go over and make sure that someone is okay, fine, that's great. Although I was a Ferengi, that's the human thing to do.
You did.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You did do that.
This business should be the most human, right? The most human of all businesses, rather than the least.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Cirroc, I think you're going to jump in on the number one on the call sheet.
No, I, not the number one. I wanted to commend Armin for his leadership. And I also want to say that for those people that are listening, taking initiative like Armin took to make yourself better, to make the group better, to reach out to people, is a sign of what it takes to be excellent. And thank you for that, Armin, because, you made us all better. You always did your best to reach out. And also shows that, a lot of actors believe that once they get that role, that it's like their job is done. They passed the audition process and now I can cruise from here. And what you show us, Armin, is that that's when the work actually begins. That's when you start digging into it and finding and bringing out the best in yourself and in the character. And I think that's just wonderful that you brought that kind of work ethic to the show, and it resonates when you see the Ferengi family.
Mm-hmm. And it's apparent on screen when you're watching it, and also on stage during the Ferengi family hours when you're all working together. You can see that camaraderie and you can feel it, and that closeness is special to witness on stage. So thank you all for that. As somebody who has been in the audience watching this, it's educational for us too. So it's a gift. Yeah.
Did you guys have siblings, Armin or Max? Do you have any brother? Do you have a brother? Or
I have one brother, a younger brother, who calls himself Rom. Not always, but occasionally does call himself Rom.
Oh, that's great.
Oh my gosh.
Max, do you have a sibling?
I have a younger sister. She's 3 years younger, and an older half brother. He's way older. So
okay, yeah. So you because you guys have that sibling stuff. When I watch the show, the way you guys ride each other, it's just it's perfect sibling stuff. And I feel like you must have some experience with that to be able to capture it that well.
I think so. Yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah, we have something like that, but we have to also attribute that to Ira and the writing staff, who must also have those relationships, because after all, nothing came out of our mouths that wasn't first on the page.
Did he intimate to
I'll
you?
say there was nothing better than shooting a scene and turning to Judy Brown and hoping that she would say DLP, lovey.
Love you.
Yeah.
Love you.
We've heard that one.
Did Ira tell you that how much he loved writing for the Ferengi while we were doing the show? Did he express that to you? Because he's expressed that to us, that the Ferengi was his baby and that he wanted to tackle all the Ferengi stuff. Did he express that to you while we were filming, that this is what I like?
I don't think so, but it was obvious. I mean, he wrote the rules of acquisition with the Robert Hewitt Wolf. He did a number of things, and he didn't really have to vocalize it, because look at what happened to the family. Look what he did to give us all three-dimensionality to give us relationships that weren't necessarily part of the original concept of the show, in order to make us more human, to make us less one-dimensional. And it was obvious from the writing, which I'm very grateful for, because in the first two seasons, I always thought that that they just didn't know what to do with Quark. They gave me episodes, but I just didn't think they knew what to do with him. And then maybe I said it was House of Quark, but it may be the arrival of Ira that was the change. I'm sure. God bless Michael and Rick Berman. They decided, not me. They decided to put a Ferengi in the midst of that show. They could have chosen any other species, but they chose. And forgive me, Max, for saying this. They chose the least liked aliens from Next Generation to be.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of other alien species that were more respected, more liked than the Ferengi. It wasn't our fault. It was my fault. It wasn't Max's fault. It was my fault. Or Aaron's fault, for that matter. Aaron, my God, Aaron made the Ferengi likable, funny, adorable. Thank God for Aaron.
It's pretty cute.
Who's the most fun, as Max says.
Some of those original Ferengi were played by you.
That's what I'm saying. It was why it's my fault.
And you, Max. We do have to run.
You've redeemed yourself, Armin. You've redeemed yourself since.
I have the right. And as I've said many times, this is just old news. I spent all of 7 years on Deep Space Nine trying to redeem that.
Yeah. We do have to run in just a second here. I just wanted to throw out one final thing, Chase. I didn't want to close this out before saying this, but as you were talking earlier, I remembered that for me, as a viewer watching the show, there was the Ferengi family. There were the hijinks, there were the serious moments, there were the funny moments, but it felt like the addition of your character into that family is what closed that circle, if that makes sense. Like there was a lot there, and you were that final link that turned it into that full circle family for me as a viewer. So thank you so much for that.
That's so lovely.
Well, and I was gonna, sorry. To add to that, I was gonna say that you're being added into the Ferengi family was a great representation of blended families.
Yeah.
And you stepped in and you took the reins so beautifully. It was
That means so much to me. Thank you. Well, the Ramen Lita thing was a very Star Trek story, and it's about who we are on the inside. And Ron was very sexy. What can I say?
Was
Is very sexy.
That's
right. It is.
Absolutely.
No, thank you for that. It means a lot, Ryan and Malissa. Thank you all for that.
Okay, so we do have to go, but we really appreciate your time, Chase, Max, and Armin. And by the way, Armin, I think that's so awesome that you are wearing the sweatshirt that I sent your way. That is so amazing. I'm going to spotlight you for just a second because it looks freaking perfect on you.
It's amazing.
It's the Ferengi family. That is our good friend.
We're all there. All of us are there.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And Malissa is also wearing her version of that. So really appreciate you guys doing that. Just opening that store right now. Everybody, if you'd like to know more about that, the link will be in the description box below as well. That's the Ferengi family shirt. But we do have to run. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We could sit here forever. It feels like a fireside chat with you, and really love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. This was wonderful. Love
and everybody at home, check those links below and go support.
Don't forget the
those.
Pan Can, the heroic journey. Absolutely.
And if I may, since I am a Ferengi, and don't forget my
Please.
books either for that matter.
Yes, the Illyria books. Go get on those. We'll add all those in the links below. And everybody at home, you've got your homework now. Get it done. Thank you all very much. And we'll see you next time on Virtual Trek Con.